This is Kyle Gass of Tenacious D. You're listening to Without Your Head.
Well, this is Nasty Neil at the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head, and I'm joined by Jerome Sable and Eli, writer and directors of Stage Fright, now available on video on demand and in select theaters this Friday. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's good having you guys. I really like the contrast between kind of the upbeat musical and like all the killings are really brutal and gritty. Was that kind of was that the intent?
It was the intent. It was the intent. We basically we felt we should go all the way in every department, and really not hold back too much. So I don't know. I mean, it's good that you like it.
Going to extremes in general. We're extremists.
Yeah. You just said it's good.
We're also nudists.
You said it was good that I enjoyed it. What has the feedback been like from people who've seen the movie?
Well, I think, clearly the film is not for everybody because it is extreme in that way. And, there are people who might like less musical, less horror, more horror. There's all kinds of... It's a dangerous alchemy in terms of what we're toying around with. But we just decided we would take the approach of just sort of doing it to taste in terms of what we just instinctively felt. We happen to like all kinds of music, even from the musical standpoint alone. We have a lot of a mixture of different styles at play, and it's just sort of something we felt should be that way in terms of, I guess, our minds are already mixed up.
Did you?
I think it should be very clear that we're disturbed people, and that was sort of the genesis for this film.
I think that's evident from watching the movie. It's
clear. It's very clear.
Yes. Did you also write the music and the lyrics? I know
our parents did that. That was our parents.
Oh, okay.
They
helped you.
Yeah,
we
should be clear when we do things at Sable and Batalion. We are referring to our parents who have the same surnames.
Mr. and
but in
Mrs.
all
Sable and Mr. and Mrs. Batalion.
Yeah, they're excellent collaborators. They were great troopers in this process. But in all seriousness, so we did do the music and the lyrics together, and it was a great deal of fun for us to be able to write in multiple types of genre. Jerome and I have done a lot of musical stuff in the past. But as you're pointing out before, it was very fun to go in two extreme directions. One basically writing thrash metal and music and lyrics in and around thrash metal, and the other more along the lines of something similar to Gilbert and Sullivan or an Oliver, and composing along those lines. So yes, it was two guys writing music and lyrics for two types of genres.
Mm-hmm. I always think for a horror comedy to really work well, it has to be scary too. The horror has to really work. Did anyone ever say like, oh, you should really make it all a horror movie, or you should just make it go all music?
I mean, look, yes, sure. We had different. There were a lot of different directions that we could have gone in, it's the whole. In a way, it's kind of experimental from that standpoint, because there's no real established genre of horror musical. There are several that exist, but each one is kind of different one from the other. So really, it's not one of those tried and true road well traveled, and so. For us, it was an exciting creative venture from that standpoint, because we were just feeling it out in terms of what this story wanted and what we felt, should how we felt things should unfold. And, it also screens very differently when people watch it at home on a link or on VOD on their iTunes versus a communal experience out at a theater with a genre crowd, a grindhouse midnight screening with hundreds of people and a big screen, big 5.1 theatrical sound mix. It's a very different experience. Obviously, we think this movie screens best on the big screen and with a bloodthirsty crowd.
Yeah. Well, I think
with a beer in hand.
I think all
a beer-thirsty crowd.
Yes, a beer. I think all movies do, especially musical, though, because we said this before on the show, but you really feel if you're in the audience during like a musical, you really feel the music. It's part of the atmosphere.
Yes, exactly. I mean, Ellie and I both actually have only attended 2 screenings so far. One was at South by Southwest in Texas, and the other was in New York. And so far, yes, it was good. Like the way you were saying it, it was. We did it. We had the volume up nice and loud. It's a completely different experience.
I think you can really see your guys' love for horror movies in this movie too, because there's a lot of little odes to other horror movies. And is that fun when people can spot those out?
You mean the little Easter eggs?
Yes.
The nods to other. Yeah. I mean, sure. I guess part of that was in order to try to show our appreciation for the genre that we were perhaps massacring. Try to, let our audience know with a wink and a nod that even though we may be at once destroying something, we are also celebrating it at the same time and with affection.
I really liked the you guys short that you had, Legend of Beaver Dam. When you made that, was the idea to hopefully eventually make Stage Fright, or did the idea of Stage Fright come like long after?
I mean, it was sort of hand in hand. Like we were talking about doing a horror musical feature for a while, and then we realized that no one would necessarily fund such a venture without any kind of precedent or example. So from there, we actually said, okay, well then we'll make a short film first. And even though I guess at the time we already had the idea for a slasher set at a musical theater camp, there was no real short story that we could think of to come out of that. Or at least we thought that the Beaver Dam would be a better story to do as a short. So that's why we made the Legend of Beaver Dam, and it's related in a tonal genre mashup kind of a way, but it's obviously a different story, different characters. So it's different enough to be 2 separate things. But yeah, there are a lot of there's a blood link. Bloodline?
Yeah, we get to kill people under the age of 18 in both cases.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the goal.
Yeah,
and that was satisfying for our bloodthirst.
Yeah, I would think it'd have to be cool to say that Meatloaf's in your movie. How did that come about? Getting Meatloaf involved?
We reached out. There was I think there was a relationship between our casting director and our New York casting director and his people. His representatives, and then I think Legend of Beaver Dam actually played a part in it. If I'm not mistaken, I think his wife saw the short film and encouraged him to return our calls.
You can do it, Meat. Return.
Did everyone do their own singing in the movie?
Yes. Yeah,
we had a super talented cast,
but also live on set.
Oh, really? That's really interesting. Was that difficult?
Yes, definitely. It was because, I mean, first of all, it wasn't. It was, but at the same time, this was the cast to do it. They were that good, and of course, they all sort of come from the theater, so they are able to perform at such a technically proficient level over and over again with expertise. But they did, have when you're singing live, like the idea of, being able to sing while blood is splattering and, knives are chopping and slashing is hard from a technical standpoint, incorporate live choreography and complex blood gags while also having live singing and oftentimes outside, fighting the elements with the wind and the noise was definitely a little bit of a cluster sometimes.
I would think that would be hard for the audio if you have wind going.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
But we had a super talented cast.
Yeah, it's a great cast, and I love the music in the movie. And I think for a movie like this, might sound silly to say, but if the music didn't work, I don't think the movie would work. So,
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it truly is a musical,
mm-hmm.
And there are many times that we go in musical, unrealistic, fantastical directions. So the music does really have to work to make people go along on that journey with us. And yeah, a lot of it hinges on whether or not people appreciate that aspect. So I'm glad you did.
I did. Well, I want to thank both of you guys for being here, and let everybody know this Friday you can go see it at the theater.
Nice, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Lips from the band Anvil. Yeah, you know it. You're listening withoutyourhead.com.